All right, we are live. Good to see everybody. It is Wednesday, March 26, 2025, 8:02 a.m. Pacific time, 11:02 a.m. Eastern time. All right, good to see everybody. We have a different kind of show today. This is a world premiere. I think I'm probably the first one to have this. Not because Honor sent me anything or anything like that, but because I had to figure a way to get this, right? So this is the Honor Magic Book Pro 14. So this is a Chinese version that I had to import to the United States, and actually went a lot more smoothly than I thought it would. So kind of interesting. We'll talk about that. But I was able to import it. Yes, I paid probably a premium to bring it in than it would if I was living in China. But of course, that's the price we pay. This is running the Intel Arrow Lake Core Ultra 9 285H. This thing's been pretty awesome. So I took it out of the box because a couple of things. The seller and we'll get into where I bought it. The seller put it in English for me, so I wanted to make sure that was done because this was going to come with Windows and Chinese, right? So wouldn't have done me any good. But they put it into different languages if you request it, and they're pretty good in that communication. So that's been pretty good. This thing has been awesome in a lot of ways. The display on this is, I'll show it to you. It's amazing. This is a pretty amazing display. We'll get into the metrics and all that in a little bit, but it has been pretty phenomenal. All right, let's say hello to a few people as people are filing in. We have about 50 of you watching. I'm streaming on both YouTube and on X, formerly known as Twitter. So we have a multi-stream going here. Good to see William. Costco sells the new MacBook Airs for about $50 less. Yeah, they're already on sale. I see that they're starting to slash prices, which makes it even a better deal, right? So, if it's what you're wanting and you've been looking at it, then jump on it. We'll talk about the specs in this in a little bit. 13 Zipa bought this a couple of days ago. It's arriving tomorrow. Comes with Chinese Windows Home, but the seller pre-installed Windows 11 Pro. That's exactly what I have here, Windows 11 Pro, because it would have come with Chinese Home, right? Love the music from Hamza. Okay. And according to Bogdan, he's a fan of the Honor MagicBook Art 14. That's another one I'm interested in with the detachable webcam. It's a great idea. I don't know how great the webcam is, but I'm trying to get one of those as well. That's running the Snapdragon X Elite, but the bezels on that are virtually non-existent. Looks pretty cool. But I had to go out of pocket for this one, right? All right, so good to see everybody. Let's get the specs on here, and we'll talk about how I got this, and we'll get more. We'll do some testing and all that. I'll show you some of the benchmarks I've already run. So let's bring that onto the stream here. And what we have here is the Honor MagicBook Pro 14. So what's interesting, and this is the star of the show, the 14.6-inch OLED display. So you're looking at OLED technology. It has a 91.5% screen-to-body ratio, and it has a 3:2 aspect ratio, which I'm a big fan of, as you probably know by now. 3120 by 2080. That's 258 pixels per inch. And get this, it has a peak brightness of 700 nits. And I actually measured that in the HDR, and you're looking at around 4 to 500 nits in standard dynamic range, but it can peak about 700 or so in HDR. 120 hertz refresh rate, and it is a variable refresh rate, I believe. We'll double check that, but it is 120 hertz, which is really great. Now, Core Ultra 9 285H. This is the second time I've seen this one. We just looked at it for the video that nobody watched for some reason. It's the Asus ZenBook Duo that I just did. It's running the same processor, although I'm getting better results on this one. And that's probably due to the thermal system. The cooling system is one part of it, at least. Intel Arc 140T graphics, and that, of course, has been impressive. I really like these graphics as far as an integrated solution. We'll talk more about that. Memory here is the LPDDR5X 8400 megatransfers per second, so it's pretty fast. Not the 8533 we saw with Lunar Lake, but it's pretty fast nonetheless. And it is non-upgradable by the user. You can get it in 16, 24, and 32, according to the specs. I have it in 32. And you get a terabyte of storage here, 1 terabyte I have here. They divide it into there's two partitions, right? We'll talk about that. And it is the full-size M.2 2280, right? Really big battery here for a 14-inch plus laptop, 92 watt hour battery. And that, of course, I did one test already. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And it's got, I think it has Wi-Fi 7, Wi-Fi 6E, but let me double check that. And only Bluetooth 5.1, which was kind of surprising, but we'll talk about wireless and all that. Okay, so as the things move over so far, the specs look really good, although there are a few things that I was a little surprised. An omission, big omission, I think we'll get into in a moment. So let's talk weight here. Size and weight is pretty good, although 1.39 kilograms. I have the touchscreen model, 1.37 for the non-touch, and it's got a 1080p HD camera, not IR, so you have to use the fingerprint scanner for Windows Hello. Stereo speakers with the Namic audio. It's actually pretty good. And we got the different colors here. Moonlight White, which I wanted to get, but it was coming in the non-touch version. I wanted the touch. So Star Gray is what we have, and it comes in the Aurora Green. Remember, this is really for the Chinese market, so the colors will be appropriate to that. And then this is where I'm a little surprised, maybe a little bit disappointed. There's no Thunderbolt here, right? So you get USB-C 3.2 Gen 2, which are 10 gigabits per second. There's no Thunderbolt on here, which is kind of surprising. We'll talk about that. And then you get USB-A. I think you get two of them. Yeah. Yeah, you get two USB-A, and you get HDMI 2.1 TMDS and a headphone jack, right? So that is the specs here. And I will say it's a pretty interesting device, to say the least. Again, it's not meant for the Western market for whatever reason. And I guess Honor will release an international version, but I don't believe it's going to be sold here in the U.S. You'll have to go out and buy it. As I did, import it. And it was actually a lot more smoother than I thought it would be. So I bought this at AliExpress. I found a seller there, and he's pretty nice. They're pretty nice. I assume it's a man, but maybe I'm wrong. So again, I paid a premium for this. I think I paid around this price or so. But again, it can fluctuate. And what you're looking at here is the MagicBook Pro 14 2025. This is the highest end model that they have. They threw in a few goodies, but, you know, like a cheap mouse and a Xiaomi mouse. I have it upstairs. And they also gave me a Logitech mouse pad, but the old Logitech. So they must have had those lying around. And then they gave me some kind of hub. But that's the price you'll pay to import it. So what happened was I imported it here. So I ordered it a couple of weeks ago, and it went through customs without any issues. The seller was very communicative, and I think they did a great job. Now, in China, if you convert the price, this is like $800-900. So obviously, I paid a premium to import it here. There's no doubt about it. But again, that's the price you pay. Again, you know, Honor did not send that to me or anything. And the transaction went smoothly. Now, if I have a problem, apparently I can send it back, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Again, it'd have to go to China. I don't know. It says returns within 30 days, but I really, maybe I should test it one day, but I'm not counting on it. So that's the caveat. That's the buyer beware that I wanted to make sure you are aware of, because you never know what could happen with something like this. 4K would have been overkill on a 14.6 inch, whatever it is. Let me see. What is the size of the display? It is a 14.6, like I said. All right, 3:2 aspect ratio. All right, so it's a metal design. This was cold to the touch this morning when I touched it. So this is all metal. The build is actually pretty good. It's actually really good. And you can see it here. This is that gray version. I forgot what they call it, but whatever. It's a pretty nice overall look. 1.39 kilograms. We'll measure it ourselves, although I've already measured it, but we can probably do it again. The display to me is the star here. So what we're looking at here is that OLED display. And I will say it's a really good display, and it's a touchscreen display, as you can see, and it's really blown out. Again, the brightness is very, very good on this. So I'll have to lower that down. You can even see, I just ran a benchmark real quick. You can see the performance is going to be very good on this, right? And then you can see a very good single and multi-core. We'll talk about all that. I'm going to do a full review on it. It is a glossy display, but I got to tell you, it's not bad. It's got a pretty good anti-glare coating on it. It's not matte, but it is, and I have a lot of studio lights, but it's not bad at all. The screen goes back as far as you see here, so not quite 180 degrees, but it goes far back enough to give you a nice viewing angle and very little or minimal screen wobble. So when I'm typing, this doesn't move. It's really, really good. So this was very, very good so far. I've been very impressed with it. The bezels, again, 91.5% screen to body ratio with this touchscreen, with this OLED, with the 3:2. This is simply a superb display. And I'm not seeing any screen door effect. That was the other thing I was concerned about. I'm not seeing that. So that is another positive out of this. They used a very good display, but they cut corners. What they cut corners is they don't have Thunderbolt on here. So that's kind of interesting why they did that. So this is scaled. Yeah, I don't know what the scaling and all that, but I can tell you it's an HDR display, and I can go over some of the specs here. 3120 by 2080. So this is that 3:2 aspect ratio. It comes scaled at 200 out of the box, and I think it's the right scaling. Usually I'm not, they're not great with the window scaling. This is for this size and this resolution. I think the scaling works, especially with the touch screen. You want to have the touch points being able to be usable. So that's been pretty good. And it's been very good. So let's look at some of the spec. Well, before we do that, actually, let me unplug this. And let me bring out the scale. I'll give you a weight, and we'll show you the charger also. It comes with a 100-watt charger. So right now in kilograms, let me put it into kilograms. Okay. So let's make sure that's on 0. Yeah. Oh, hold on. Let me reset that. All right. So it's on 0 right now. And with just the unit alone, you're looking at 1.4 kilograms. So it's a little bit above. Let me do that again. 0. Yeah, 1.402 kilograms. So it's a little bit above what they're saying. Now, here is the 100-watt charger, and this is a what they're calling the Honor Supercharger, right? So 100 watts, you can see that there. And it's got the US plug, but they also gave you plugs for other regions. So that was kind of nice what the seller did. And it comes out to 1.671 kilograms. And that is 3 pounds, 11 ounces for a total travel weight. And again, without the plug, if you want to just take the laptop with you, 3 pounds, 1.5 ounces. So that is pretty good here. We see Tech Odyssey here. So good to see you. So that is the weight. Pretty good. Adam's got a great channel. All right. So how was Japan? He went to Japan. All right. So this is the laptop. All right, so no IR camera. And the camera's okay. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. But again, the screen is absolutely gorgeous. Now let's talk about the keyboard. So the keyboard is they're claiming 1.5 millimeters of key travel. And I actually think it's somewhat correct. I think it is. Let's give it a listen. Yeah, the keyboard feels good, and it's pretty quiet for what we want it to do. If you want to use it in a meeting, it's pretty good. This is actually a really good keyboard. Now, the touchpad looks like it's a glass touchpad. It's not a haptic touchpad. It's got physical moving parts, diving board style, and it is glass. I could tell by this it is. And it's very responsive. So if I go to a website, if I go to my website here, oops. You can see the scrolling. Everything's so smooth at 100. I have it on the 120 hertz. So this is really good. And it's a very good touchpad. I've had no issues with it. It's proportionally sized. It's very good. So no issues with that. They also gave me a mouse. The seller gave me a Xiaomi mouse, probably a throw-in kind of thing, but that was kind of nice. I didn't bring it down, but I probably could have. But not a big deal. If you buy through that seller, I guess you do get some goodies. But again, don't expect to get high quality stuff other than the laptop, which is pretty high quality. So that is the keyboard. That's the touchpad. Now, if you notice here, and we can go over here, that the layout of the keyboard is actually pretty good. You got nice arrow keys here. You do have the power button, which doubles as a fingerprint scanner in the right-hand corner there. It's a little bit The other keys are raised above that. In other words, that's sunken a little bit so you don't have an accidental press and so forth. So I think the engineering was well thought out there. It works out really well. You got the function lock. So right now I have the function lock and I'm able to change the volume, brightness, all that from the keyboard without having to press the function button. So you just have to long press the function and that brings it up, and that's working out pretty well. It's got the Copilot key. Now, of course, this is going to be Arrow Lake, and I think it has 13 tops, so it's not going to be quite as good in that regard for AI and all that. Although I think that's a lot of marketing BS. It'll do great for AI and stuff. And the Intel Arc 140T is what this has, right? So that means you're going to get very good integrated graphics here. And let's take a look at some of the benchmarks to give you an idea, and we'll get to your comments and questions. But let's take a look at that. So let me put it over here. So, well, I have to plug it in first. That would help, right? So this is, this has been very good so far. Okay, so this does display out. It's full function, these two USB-C ports, 3.2 Gen 2, but they're not what we were consider, they're not Thunderbolt, right? Which is kind of weird. It's not USB 4.0. Which would have been good. Again, I'm not really sure if they're trying to save money in that regard because they went with such a high-end display, maybe. I don't know. Maybe the market there doesn't require it. I don't know. That's a good question. 2896 single core. This was on battery, by the way. 15,000 on the multi-core there. That's on battery. These are battery numbers. 2896, 15,027. So very good single and multi-core. This was on battery, OpenCL test, obviously testing the 140T graphics, the Intel Arc. Very good. And this was on battery, 961 for the multi-core, and the single-core, 124. So very good. Now, I plugged it in. I believe I got over 1,000, a little bit over 1,000 on the CPU multi-core score when I plugged it in. This is on battery, quick and dirty test that I did. This is the SSD. This is the C drive and the D drive. So that SSD is partitioned into two drives, right? So you got very good reads and writes. But check out the random 4K. Those are some of the best numbers I've seen. That's pretty incredible. 989 and 1021. Wow. And then same thing with the D drive, which has over 600 gigabytes available here. So that's 1,000 and 1125 for that same random 4K. So that's really good reads and writes here. So that's been very good. I ran the speedometer 3.0 test, 32.9, which is very good. Not quite as good as the MacBook M4 that I have. I think that scored in the 50s, low 50s. We'll take a look at that. And then this was plugged in. So you can see the jump in the multi-core plugged in. So it went from, 15,000 plus to 16,509, which is a really, really good score. 2867. So is the single core. That's really good. And there's the Vulkan score. I didn't get a chance to do that on battery, but that's with it plugged in. Here's the OpenCL, which went up a little bit also when I plugged it in. So not a huge difference, but you can see. Now, let's talk the 140T graphics here. And that, of course, is the time spy, right? 4559, which is very similar to what we saw the Intel Arc 140V graphics on Lunar Lake. And that's a good score. That's a very good score. And then 7304 on the Wildlife Extreme, which is a very good for that. And then, of course, very good score for the Fire Strike. So that is very good. All right. So I ran the Time Spy stress test, and guess what? A passing score of 99.8%, meaning it detected no or virtually no thermal throttling under load, which is great to see. So if it got something less than 97%, that would not have been a passing score. So it passed. Good. And I got very good or excellent coverage of the color gamut for the display. Look at that, 100% P3, which is what you want, 97% Adobe, and 100% sRGB. Now, 518, this was standard dynamic range. I got 518.5 nits of brightness, which can peak up to 700 on HDR. This is SDR. So pretty good. And very good Delta E score, 0.46. That means it's a very color accurate display. And then the monitor rating is very good. And then this was a quiet laptop. And I'll show you this in the video when I put it out. But it was in the 30s, actually, believe it or not. Right now it's when I first did it. But this doesn't, hold on, let me move it all over. It was in the 60s. There it is. So, oh, this is I'm sorry. This is the sound test. Of course it's going to be that high. Basically in the 30s. I didn't really go above that. So it's been very good. There's the charger and all that. All right. So you got an idea, right? So that is to see. Good to see Josh here. How are you getting this laptop in? We've had a lot of requests for it too. Yeah, Josh, I had to go out. I had to go import this sucker. And it actually went a lot more smoothly than I thought it would. So not too bad. So pretty good. All right. And I got to tell you, Arrow Lake on this is very good. And right now, I hardly hear the fans going. So I opened it up, actually. In fact, we could probably look at that real quick. Let me go back to the screenshots I had here. Hold on. If I go to the photos, I have it here somewhere. Let me just go to my albums. Okay. So I think it was in, let's see here. So let me fast forward this. So here I am opening it up. Okay. So I'll skip ahead. There are 10 T5 torque screws and easily removed. They are not captive. So let me skip ahead here. And I used a spudger to pry it open there. And it comes off pretty easily. Okay. So here you can take a look at it. And I will tell you, 92 watt hour battery. You can see my head there. Okay. So let me pause it there. So as you can see, the dual fans are pretty nicely sized, spaced out pretty well. There's a nice thick heatsink there. And you can see the two speakers on there. They're bottom firing. They're actually pretty good, and we'll get an idea of what they sound like. And then the Wi-Fi card is soldered in. I will double check what the Wi-Fi is in a moment. But there you can see the 2280 SSD. And that had some really good reads and writes, as we showed earlier. So it's pretty good. So that's the internals there. The only thing you can service out of this for the user is really, maybe you can remove the battery or replace that at some point. And then you probably can, obviously you can replace the SSD. And it's actually pretty easy to do that. So not too bad for that. Now, this has been very good. Now, according to 13 Zipa, who has it coming, I think you ordered it, right? Honor Magic Ring ecosystem is why I bought this laptop. Seamless connection between phone, watch, tablet, and laptop. Yeah, and Huawei does it as well. And I'd love to get I would love to get all the other parts of that ecosystem, but Honor doesn't send me anything, so I don't know. I wouldn't hold my breath. So pretty good so far with this laptop, though, and I'm impressed. So this is not something readily available here in the US or North America, and it's a shame because this is a really, really nice laptop, that's for sure. So let's take a look at the camera. Let me go here. So it's a 1080p camera here, and I have the background blur on because I was testing it earlier, but you can see it here. So let me turn off the studio effects here. So by the way, you could do the standard blur, the portrait blur, but this is what it looks like. It's not bad. It's not bad. I'll leave my mic here, but this is not the internal mics. What you're hearing is my studio mic here. But yeah, so that's what it looks like. It's not IR, as I mentioned, but let me know what you think as far as the quality. And the sound is actually really good. I did a sample, and then I'll play that in the upcoming video, but that'll be for the review. I got to save something for the review, obviously. But pretty good so far. What do you think about it? And of course, that has all the studio effects. And here you can see we're talking about 1080p on this one. So very, very good. I think it's pretty good. Let me know. Camera, according to William, looks good. All right. So the other thing I wanted to test, we're breezing along here. I don't want to go more than an hour today. We're almost at a half an hour already, but this is a new streamlined thing. So we can take a look. Actually, what I want to do, we'll listen to the sound in a moment, but I'm going to bring out another Arrow Lake here. This is the one that nobody watched on my channel. This is the ZenBook Duo. So the ZenBook Duo, this has a dual display for those wondering. You can see the secondary display. Let me turn that on. But This I want to show you some of the differences in performance between the two. So this will have better. Well, this has Thunderbolt. This doesn't have Thunderbolt for whatever reason. Again, it could be market specific. In China, they don't require it. I don't know. Maybe contact them, and I think they will send you immediately whatever you ask them. Yeah, you would think, right? The thing is, again, I'm in the U.S. and I don't know if they want to send it to me, but if they do, Honor, I'm more than receptive, obviously. And my reach is worldwide, so it makes sense. Even if you couldn't buy it here, I was able to go out and buy it, so maybe that might be a good way to go. But you never know. So if Honor, if you're watching, I'm here. You know where to find me. We can talk. All right. So this, so this is the ZenBook Duo. Nobody watched the video for whatever reason. No interest, I guess. I don't know. I thought it was good, and I think it's priced okay considering how high prices are right now. You get two displays, right? So what's wrong with having two displays? Well, of course, I have a lot of lights here, but there you go. I mean, you have a dual display laptop with a kickstand on the bottom that comes out. But I just wanted to show you some of the benchmarks here versus these two. So actually, if I do a speedometer test, again, I'm not plugged in here, but let's see what kind of test we'll get. And let me make sure I'm on the best performance. Yeah, and then let me just make sure over here what kind of settings I'm on. So the full speed mode. Okay. So if I do a speedometer test, 3.0, and this one will do the same. So let's start the test. Yeah, I would love to get the MagicBook Art, the one with the the detachable camera. All right, let's start these together. There we go. I did this earlier, and I got a very similar score between these two. These are both running Arrow Lake, for those wondering. Honor claiming 13 hours. I got 10 on my mixed use test. So, and again, that's the 120 hertz. So I'll show you that in a moment. I'll show you that result. I didn't run my video playback test yet. That's going to happen tonight, but I was able to run my modern office test. So a little bit higher on this one, but earlier it was about the same. So 36.1 on this one, 33.1. You won't notice the difference. But again, these are the same chipset between these two. So for those wondering, that is the score right there. Speaking of the battery here, I can show you. This is the score I got. So I got 10 hours and 40 minutes. Now, I started at 99.4%, and it went till 3% left. And I got 10 hours and 40 minutes, and I had it on 40% screen brightness, and I had the 120 hertz enabled, for those wondering. So expect a little bit more battery life if you put it to 60 hertz, or something to that effect, right? So if you went down, expect a little bit more battery life as you'll be using less power and so forth. Or because it won't be as high a refresh rate. Is this on Snapdragon or Intel? So this is Intel Core Ultra 9 285H. That's the Arrow Lake. They also sell the Honor MagicBook Art, and that one I think has a Snapdragon X Elite. But that one looks really good too. But that has the detachable camera that comes in and goes onto the side, right? So that is where we are. Yeah, Intel Core Ultra 9. So this one will have no compatibility issues. It'll run all your x86 apps, and it'll have much better graphics with the Intel Arc 140T. You saw by the numbers, very impressive. Very similar to what we saw with the Intel Arc 140V as far as the overall numbers. So very similar in that regard. Where Lunar Lake is better over Arrow Lake is going to be the efficiency and battery life. That's where we're seeing the biggest gains with Lunar Lake. Arrow Lake is more performance-based in terms of competing with the others. Obviously, by the single and multi-core scores we've seen so far, that is the case with that. Let's take a listen to the sound on this. Let me close this and close that, and then let me go to Epidemic Sound. And we can compare it to this one. Why not? We have it here. So let me go to my saved. Boom. Okay, let me unplug that. Let me make sure the volume's on 100%. Right, and then let me go on this one. All right, so let me go to the saved. And let me make sure this is full volume. Okay, so this one has Dolby Atmos. This one, I didn't see Dolby Atmos. It has the NAMIC. Is that how you pronounce it? The NAMIC app. So they have an app there, and you can. I'll show you I'll show you in the video where the effects are on right now and when the effects are off. In fact, we could probably let's put it off first, and then we'll compare the two, and then we'll compare that. So this is with the effects off because it makes a difference. So let's give it a listen. Okay, that's with it off, and then let me put it on. Okay, so that is the difference. I hear I can actually hear the difference. In fact, we'll talk more about that in the video, but it's on right now. Now, let's compare it to these two. So let me rewind this, and we'll start with this one, and then we'll do the ZenBook Duo. Okay, ZenBook Duo. Okay, so I don't know which one's better. They're different. This has a very different approach with the NAMIC audio. This one has the Dolby Atmos. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Again, I have to play with this more, but I think they're kind of even in a lot of ways. I think the MacBook Pro sounds much better. Sound is okay, although slightly muffled on certain tones. On this one or this one. So let me know, William. All right. So that is the sound on that. Now, I think so far overall it's pretty good. Weight wise, I think they're about very similar. Let's actually do a weight test between these two, just out of curiosity, because I know this was 1.4 kilograms. So let me see what this one is. So we did this earlier, and we'll put it into kilograms. We have to wait till that's to 0. Should get to 0 just about now. If not, I have to restart it. Restart it. Now it's 0. Okay. So that's 1.401. So 1.4. Okay. And this one with the keyboard involved and everything is 1.75. So 1.751. So yeah. So this one is heavier, obviously, with the keyboard, the 2 displays. So that's expected. According to Mohammed, Asus sounded better by quite a bit. All right. So you like the Asus better. Okay. I think it was louder. But I didn't, as far as the quality of the audio, I didn't see a huge difference. He needs to stop calling it MacBook. Who called it MacBook? Did I call something MacBook? I said I referred to the MacBook earlier. I don't know. Or is somebody calling this a MacBook? I don't know what's going on in the chat, to be honest with you, but oh well. All right. Where are we? So, comments or questions? We're now at 37 minutes. I'm not going very long today. I have a lot to do. Oh, by the way, update. So I ordered the ThinkPad X9 15-inch. So we did the 14-inch with that Sensal touchpad. Now we're getting in the 15-inch with the non-Sensal haptic. I chose the haptic to see the difference, but I am getting that hopefully in the next few days. I'll let you know, but that is coming. Hopefully. Oh, so you were talking about Honor, William. Okay, thank you. Yeah, a little bit muffled. Yeah, I don't know. You could the sound changes within that app, with a Namic app, and then it definitely was very good when you would play around with it. So you just have to find which one you want to do. Rewatch the video. I'm pretty sure you said MacBook, not MagicBook. Oh, okay. If I did, my mistake. Price and release date. Price, I left the link in the description below. I had to import it. I paid about $1,400 all told. With tax, I think I paid like $1,500 and change, which was quite a bit over what they're selling it in China. China, it's like, I think it starts at around $800-900 if you convert it into US dollars. And I think it goes up from there depending on which one you go. I have the top end model, so you're probably going to pay a premium. But I paid around that to import it here. Again, I'll probably wind up either keeping it, selling it. I don't think I'll return it because I don't know how that's going to go to China, but who knows? But I might just wind up selling it, or I might keep it. So far, it's been a very good laptop. So we'll see. What about the Yoga 2-in-1 Aura Edition? I haven't gotten that yet. Hopefully, Lenovo will send that in. Gregan says it is a very nice laptop. Yeah, I'm impressed. I don't know why they're not selling this here. They're no longer with Huawei. They spun off as its own separate company, apparently. So I don't know. Price-wise, someone had a good day. Yeah, they did over in China. But this is what I do for the channel, right? Under normal circumstances, I probably would not spend that money to bring this over. But because people were asking me for this, and because I wanted to try something new, to see some other brands that we don't normally see here, I thought, well, let's do it. Take one for the team. If you know my channel, that's how we roll, right? Whether I lose money on it, probably, but in the grand scheme of things, I'll probably recoup it if I sell it or whatever. But it's also I haven't seen anybody else with this. I'm probably the first in the world outside of China to even have this. So, but again, we'll have to see how people react. I'm not seeing a huge, by the way, what the hell is this? We only have 38 likes. So apparently nobody's interested. So that's what I'm getting here. Why not hit that like button? It doesn't cost you anything. By the way, we're making a push towards 250,000 subscribers. We're over 205 right now. Things have slowed down a little bit after that big peak we got hit over 200. Things are slowing down view-wise. It seems like we're going into that in-between period where we have Computex coming. We have new announcements coming soon. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's interest in this. You have to let me know with this kind of stuff. Sometimes it's a hit or miss. Only one concern about, according to Greg and Dark, only one concern about exactly thick HonorBook Pro is the cooling system on this model. You have just ordinary heat pipes. Meanwhile, Honor MagicBook Art 14 got more powerful vapor chamber. Yeah. That could be a big difference between the two. There seems to be a good PC overall. No PC is perfect. If there would be no improved models. Yeah, you're right, William. Huawei, according to Edu4 Edit, Huawei MateBook X Pro is really good except fan noise. Yeah, I'd love if Huawei, if you're watching, send me over what you have. I'm ready to review it. I used to review your products until they pulled out of the US, so I don't know what's going on. So yeah, I mean, it's very good, right? The numbers don't lie. The cooling here is very good. I'll show you. It's not very loud. We can take a look at it, actually. Let me run Cinebench. I want to hear the fans go because there's no vapor chamber. Like according to this other person, you can get it on the the MagicBook Art 14. If I called this MacBook earlier, my apologies. MagicBook, MacBook, Magic Keyboard, you know the deal. You're going to do a review of the Asus TUF AI 937. I have it here, Kevin. I'm so behind. I have it here. I just haven't gotten to it. That's how behind I am, and I promise we'll get to it. I know I promised it way back when, but we'll be getting that. All right, let me turn on this fan here. Let me turn on this decibel meter, and let's do the multi-core here. And we'll see how loud it gets, the fans. Well, let's let it run a little bit, so let it kick in a little bit. Let me also plug it in, give it full juice. Will I review the Asus VivoBook 16 Flip? If Asus sends it over, I will. Oh, 43 likes. Okay. So interest appears when everybody talks about this laptop. No one knows anything about this laptop. Yeah, hopefully after today, things will change. People will know about it. It's the world premiere, ladies and gentlemen. Like anybody cares. Apparently not, but that's okay. You know, you take one for the team, right? It's nice to see these different PC models from different manufacturers and see what their products they offer in their products. Absolutely, William. And kind of selfishly, I wanted to see, you know, I've been eyeing this one for a while, but that Magic one is actually the Art one, rather, the MagicBook Art 14, which has the Snapdragon, is interesting. So maybe we'll get our hands on one. Honor, if you want to send me one, we could talk. I can't keep going out and buying them and importing them. So the fans are starting to kick in. Let's give it a listen. Okay, so we got about 45, 46, not quite 47 decibels. So that is probably as loud as I've heard it. Probably not more than that, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good. The ZenBook Duo that I just did was in the 60s. If you saw the video, which nobody saw, for whatever reason, nobody cared, and that's Asus. I'm kind of surprised. Maybe it'll get a second win, but who knows? So pretty quiet, and oh, by the way, not so hot. Let me show you. In fact, I already did a video of it. I could show it to you, of some of the thermals here. So you can see here, this is when I was running the test. It never got very hot on the bottom. See, the vent was 43.1 degrees Celsius. And what you're hearing is that's the video from the recording there. And then this was the top of the unit, you know, by the keyboard, never getting overly hot. You see where the hot spots are? It's where you expect it to be, where the heating vents are. So you can see it there. And then, and here's where I was doing the sound test. But that's about it, right? So that is how hot it got, and it never got loud, and that's been pretty good. Snapdragon Windows are a waste of time. Just get Lunar Lake, according to Brian Clark. So I wouldn't say that. So Snapdragon, if you stick to your basic tasks, is what it's meant to be so far. I like it. In fact, I have one right here. This is the Snapdragon-based X Elite, which is the Surface laptop for consumers here. This is the Surface laptop 7th edition, which of course running Snapdragon X Elite, and this one has been very good, right? So not an OLED display, unfortunately, but this has been great. I love this. This is the 15-inch in the platinum color, so it shows the least amount of fingerprints. So that's been very good. So Brian, I like Lunar Lake quite a bit, as you know, but I also like the Snapdragon. I think it just depends on your use case scenario. The graphics are not as good, but they're getting better. We noticed that they have now The Google Drive app is running natively, according to some reports that I saw. So you can now download the native app for Google Drive, which was a big sticking point to a lot of people who use that. So that is one hurdle that they've overcome, apparently. And then some games are now starting to roll out that are going to be able to run on this without any issues. So they're starting to make progress on the graphics end. But again, the graphics are going to be better on the Intel and on the AMD. So just keep that in mind. All right. What do you think so far? Fans, not bad at all. I'm not going to do a full run. I've already run this. I already showed you some numbers on that. So that is it, folks. I think we're going to probably call it one right here. We're a little bit more than 45 minutes. So nice, short, and sweet today. But I want to thank the moderators for doing such a great job. Good job by everybody had here. Good comments, good questions. If I missed your comments or questions, I will try to get to them when I finish this, and I'll leave maybe a comment in the comment section. But yeah, I mean, next time you should test a variant with the vapor chamber. Yeah. It's, not easy to get these here in the US. I wanted to get this one because nobody had that. That's already been reviewed quite a bit on various channels over the past 6 months or whatever it's been. So I wanted to get one that nobody had, and I'm the first one. All right, William, good to see everybody once again. We'll see everybody in the next video. So until next time, this is Andrew, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.